it is that Commissioner Leon and I have been on the court since 2013. There has been a tax increase, and my concern is it just seems like the organization or can't function without asking for an increase every year, and that's. I was hoping, I don't know if you could talk about the percentage increase, on the tax rate from 2013 to what they're proposing now. What I have from 2015 is the total tax rate was 21.4. Now what they're proposing is 26.7.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more than 20%, and just since 2015. That's not going back to 2013. The other part of that is that they are exempted from this revenue cap legislation. So I just look at the cumulative total that we're going to have on taxpayers. I think the county's impact is going to be about $50 for the average price of a home, and that's just above the effective rate, not the current rate. And then for UMC, it's $30. So we're looking at $80 in tax increases just for the average price of a home, because both entities are looking to go to the rollback rate. UMC has the ability to go, to the 8% in future years. The county won't, and we've kept the tax rate flat, and I think it's, I'm a bit reluctant to go to the rollback rate for two entities. I was hoping you could provide some context.
Let me just pull up my history here over the past. But you're right. They have every year for the last few years.
Yeah, but there hasn't been a year that we've been here that they've kept the tax rate even level. There's been a slight increase every year, and then the year that they did request that it be level is when property values significantly increased, and so that's the year that we cut taxes down to the effective rate, but we allowed them to stay at the current rate.
At the current rate, which was still a increase,
significant,
because it was over the effective rate.
Yes.
You're correct, sir.
That was last year, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And over that period of time, they have brought on a lot of other operations. Just in thinking of it in holistic, they have added additional operations over some of those periods of time, some of that time.
Yeah, it's tough because a lot of for me in the past 4 years that I've been around, and it seems that they've just had a lot of financial issues because of children's, right? So those were decisions that we made to increase taxes so that UMC didn't go under with children's, right? And so a couple of years ago, their cash on hand was at like 12 days or something, or it was below 20 days, right? So, I think that was 2 or 3 years ago, and we decided to give them a boost so that they could start building up their cash. And I still think there's still residual effects from everything that happened with Children's. Children's is finally looking at being close to break even, and their cash level is up. It's now almost $50 million at the hospital district,
but it's still 21 days because as their budget has grown,
right, it's grown
with a $56 million budget growth.
Right.
It starts, even though their cash is up.
Right.
The days of cash, it's at least leveled off. It's still estimated at 21 days next year.
Yeah, and you've got a tax base that hasn't moved, and you're growing, and you're putting clinics, and you're bringing doctors like at the level of Jimenez, and nothing's being covered by better tax base.
I think
it's not jiving.
But I think it's important to note that this. Their net position is in a much healthier place, and it's because we've been, I think, giving them those increases, and I think this year actually where is it? I mean, they're
I saw.
I mean, they're spending less than they're planning on bringing in, right? So their revenue is going to be more than their expenditures. If you, I mean, I can't remember where I saw that.
Well, that's on the, on their summary screen leading into 2020. They've got $65 million worth of proposed revenue increases, 56 million with expenses, but of note, that's really significantly also being impacted by proposed property tax increase as well. So that property tax increase is getting them
Over
literally right to just
Right.
below break even.
Right.
With the big revenue changes taking place next year, with these new programs and the interagency model going
Yeah, I mean-
away, this is really going to be I think a pinnacle year sort of towards where their future lies. Because again, the revenue model is changing the most I've seen it change, and it's changed a number of times over the last decade. Medicare, Medicaid, and the different CHIP programs. It's just the dynamics of their funding. It's not a static type of day in and day out from year to year to year. It changes pretty.
And I think, you know, part of what I think you said and what they've talked about is last year and this year is an upfront investment to bring in to change the STAR program to STAR Plus, right? And so I think after this year, it seems to me once they have that program in place, then El Paso Health should be making more money and bringing in more revenue. That's what I understand.
I'm hopeful that this is, if their programs keep moving forward the way they are, and they've had this aggressive revenue growth, that, you know, perhaps 2021 can be the year that these things sort of cap off and level off, because that flow coming in from children's is going to be there. But it looks promising. But I wish I had that tax crystal ball that this is where they start peaking off and leveling off. If the trends continue, I think it's quite possible.
And as you, and then obviously in relation to the tax, when you get that figure, the historical tax rate, it's also, I mean, obviously tied to the revenues. Let's see,
Absolutely, yes.
the figure I have here, I mean, is that in 2013, their actual tax revenue was 74 million, and now in 2020, you know, at the rollback rate, that's now they're projecting to almost go to 120, yeah, which is like a 64%. If I'm doing this right, 1 minus 74. That's a 62% just in the time that we've been
Right.
in office. I mean, that's a 62% increase in revenues. And, you know, I'm just, again, just putting that in perspective
And that'll be a combination of value changes, new construction, but also component of that will certainly be the rate increases as well.
but I mean, we haven't seen a 62% increase, revenue increase, I mean, in that same time, not even close, right?
From 2013?
From 2013 to 20, I mean, just for comparative purposes of how much tax
I'll take
revenue.
just a moment.
Well, yeah, I guess it would be difficult for us to compare ourselves to the hospital in that they're taking on, you know, we don't take on as much new activities and programs and so forth as they would. And so the only way that we're able to do that if there's an increase, otherwise the volume itself wouldn't cover from one year to the other, just what comes in on their own revenue.
Right, because they're, as they take on that new book of business, they've got a associated revenue stream that covers
But
significant.
it's sort of ahead of them, right? It's gonna be coming in later. So that's what makes it difficult to.
Just want to see our tax revenue roll fast for 13.
Well, I guess, have we looked at, if we don't go to what they want and we go sort of south,
Yes, sir.
how much would they not be able to accomplish with that?
I think they'll still be able to accomplish what it is they do.
They'll just have less
It's just
cash.
it'll be an impact on days cash, reserves. I mean, they may come back and scale back some of the requests. It would, any amount we go below their proposed rollback, if they don't change their operational model, their budget model, we'll just make that variance of that $1.2 million negative. You know, they may find that a $5 million variance is acceptable. I think the big question is again, leading into 2020 with all the programmatic changes that are going on with the SNAP and the interagency model changing effective October. That's the big looming question mark is will their estimates hit what they think it will, or even be more favorable, because with a 5 or 6% change on some of their estimates, if it was more favorable than they believe they are, that could, eat up part of what a property tax rate below the rollback could do. Okay, I think that's a question that probably Mike would have, Mike and Mr. Jacob would have to answer, as far as if they went below the rollback, is that something they would change the operating side on? But to the extent that they change the revenue generating operating side, 94% of that revenue is going to go away. So to cut the revenue stream portion, they probably have to look more at the administrative, some of those fixed costs that are unavoidable. I don't think they can touch the software side. The software is for new programs. So that is a pretty much given that they've got to grow that budget by 15% on.
When do we need a vote on your proposals?
So,
Wednesday.
You meet with them again Wednesday.
but the final vote on their budget tax rate is on the same day as ours, is September 9th.
But if we're going to ask them to change anything, we need to, or if we're going to change anything on what they're proposing, we need to let them know.
Have they come back with the revisions?
Well, while he's getting this information, can you get something?
That's in my archives.
Just a couple housekeeping items. We have a meeting this afternoon, the judge and I have a meeting this afternoon about the response to recent events. And so we need to leave here by 3:30. And then we will have lunch brought in today somewhere around 11:30. And so if the court either wants to work through lunch while you eat or only take a short break, whatever you all prefer, just.
I would rather do that because I also have EHN has decided to push up voting on their budget to today. I don't know why the heck that's at 2 o'clock. So, I mean, I'd like to go over there to be able to vote no on their budget.
I figured you couldn't get out during budget.
Well, I mean, they planned all their budget hearings when we have county hearings, which, is.
So 2 o'clock would be
Didn't make me very happy.
for Commissioner Stout.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna
then-
run to a doctor's appointment, but I'll be back. But don't just continue.
Is there, also on Friday, we have budget posted. Right now, we have just our budget discussions and our salary discussions scheduled for Friday. Friday is our absolute latest we can adopt salaries. So if there's anything besides those two items the court would like us to move to Friday also, we need to know because we're posting that agenda right now.
Do we have the rest of the day to decide, or will it affect that?
Anything that you add after 9 a.m. will be an addendum and you will not be able to hear it because you have to post 72 hours in advance. You won't be able to hear it until later in the day Friday once it was posted. If you'd like, out of an abundance of caution, we could add the hospital district language on Fridays to review and discuss the hospital district budget if you all would like.
What do you think?
What's the question, sorry?
For the agenda for Friday, besides our own budget and salary setting, is there any other topic you want on the agenda for Friday? Friday is our latest we can adopt salaries. In order to have the timeline to publish and to give grievance.
Yeah, Judge, I put it in there just in case. 'Cause we can always just delete it or postpone it.
Is there?
Okay.
So put the hospital district language on for Friday?
Hospital, so this item again,
Yes,
item
sir.
number 4. Okay.
So,
Hey, well, I mean, sorry, I have a list here if it helps, like going back to 2014, doesn't necessarily go back to the total tax rate.
on the UMC tax rates?
Mhm.
Okay, just real fast on the revenue, $128 million was our 2013 general fund property tax revenue.
128?
128 million, 128.4. The budget for next year for our general fund revenues with the rollback tax rate is 190. So we've had an increase since 2013 of $62 million or 48%. So not grown in line with the hospital, probably about 14% behind the hospital growth
In 10 years?
Since
since
2013.
2013.
Oh, since 2013.
6 years.
8 years.
8 years. So
8 years. Projected.
Oh, 20.
Yeah, then going all the way to 20. And that 62% growth you were saying was a 13 to 20 on UMC.
Yes.
Was that this year?
I think in 20
I saved it, it's under new folder
I
actually.
think in 2013 it was 71.5. I can calculate the increase in the rate from 2014 to 2020, which is 26.
It's under, no, okay, yeah. And then not under FY 20, just under the general. And then go to the folder. It's just the rate. Now, I did read a report that from 2006 to 2011, they kept their tax rate level or decreased, except in 2009 when they were put on, which is what's awesome.
So yeah, just from a pure rate to rate comparison, 19-cent rate in 2013, proposed 26.7 rate for 2020, a 7.5 cent increase or a 39% change in the rate. So just for comparative of our rate to rate change.
Well, not understanding the process at this point the way I should. If we were to conclude, for example, if we're not gonna go all the way to the rollback rate, right? And we say this is what we feel would be the right thing. would they have time to tell us, if we did that, this is what we would have to do, and then we could decide whether or not, you know, if they're cutting into areas that we feel are critical, then we can sort of then make a determination if we're willing to, because they're gonna have to come back, but I wanna give them enough time. If we're not gonna go what their expectation is, I think the court has to decide, well, what is our expectation? And then they tell us, if we do that, this would be what we would have to cut back, and then we would determine, do we want that for a community at this point in time?
Right.
Do we,
Certainly by the September 9th, we would have time, I think. If we give them that direction tomorrow, that we want to see them, you know, come in under the rollback rate. I think
so I guess what I'm getting at, maybe we should determine what we believe should be an adequate tax rate, and tell them this is where we think we're at. The only thing it's really difficult for me is that we'd be speculating, and it would be a random number. It's not gonna be based on us saying, these are the things I feel you should cut back, and therefore you should have this rate. But I don't know if we're that knowledgeable to go in depth and say, you know, for example, we don't want you to have another emergency or whatever. How do we do that? I mean, everything they propose are things that they seem to believe are gonna be part of the way to grow and do the right thing for the community. So I'm having a difficult time how to establish what we believe would be the adequate rate versus what they're saying. And can you sort of address that, Wally,
You know,
from previous years, or?
in prior years, when we've expressed, you know, lack of willingness to go as high as the rollback tax rate, we've asked them to go back and see what they can do, just from an administrative standpoint, to tighten up their budget requests. We've given them the ability to come reapproach us and say, look, we think we can pare back administrative positions, or tighten up a
So you're not
potential
really
merit
asking, you're not
increases.
giving them,
Exactly, not
you're
giving
just
them,
saying, what can you do to
right,
bring it back?
that's the direction we've
But if you have a set goal, it's better to tell them what your set goal is than to let them go and attempt and then not meet your goal.
I'm just not sure how we.
So the amount of money they would generate by going to the rollback over the current is
an additional 6.3
6.3 million, which is not a lot.
I mean, if we were to get something like 5%, you know, which is still above the 3.5 cap that we're gonna be subject to, but you know, I mean, the other thing taking into consideration is that, you know, you talked about the capacity issues it is that they're facing, so I mean, they're gonna be coming forward with the bond issuance and
It's gonna jump out the INS side.
it's gonna jump on the INS side, but then also the M&O side to fill all that, you know, so I mean, I think they're gonna come back at the rollback rate again next year, you know, to
So right now, that percentage difference between the effective tax rate, which is 0.2% higher than the current tax rate, and the proposed rollback tax rate is 5.6%. So that's the percentage difference right now between those two.
between the
The effective tax rate and the rollback tax rate, 5.61. Yeah. Because their effective is 25.235, let's see. He's got to know this one.
It's 25.3519.
So right here, so right now their current rate is 25.1943. Their effective went up to 25.3519. Rollback is 26.7747. So it's a 5.61% increase over the calculated effective tax rate.
You know what, I think that's where,
Is that where you're?
I think they made an error on that.
No, it's a 5.61 increase over the whole rate altogether. So it's an 8% increase on the M&O side, but it's a 5% 5.6 increase on the complete tax rate. I think that's what they're saying.
On the total tax rate, because your INS rate actually went down a little bit. If you look at the current tax rate, the INS rate was 0.054. It's going to 0.0528.
So it's a 5.6% increase on the whole tax rate.
And that is a whole tax rate calculation. So M&O is changing by 1.4 cents.
Yeah, I think
It's
Went from 5.4 to 5.2.
I gotta just double check, because I found something where the effective rate in this thing that they presented to us with was incorrect. Let me see what it was.
See, Judge, what you're saying is, you're the experts. And we're refined.
So I have a question, Wally. Do you know? So they're saying that the 284 of the FTEs have a revenue offset. Is that a complete revenue offset or a partial revenue offset?
That's my understanding is a complete revenue offset. That the other 22 positions have no revenue offset.
Yeah, it says 18 for administrative increases on non-revenue.
So the effective to rollback does calculate at 561. Let me look at their tax calculation before it applies. Oh, Commissioner Norbert, you had asked what was that same change for the county of El Paso? For 2013, our tax rate was 40.8 cents. It's proposed at 48.8. We've had an 8-cent tax change in between those years, and that's a 19% increase. So
With
theirs is done
fiscal
by-
year 2020,
Sir?
with fiscal year 2020.
That's comparing 13 to 2020. 2020 at the 0.488997.
Oh, 48897.
Yes, sir.
And that's, I'm sorry, how
An
much?
8-cent change or 19.6%.
And UMC has doubled that at 40.
Yes, 39.1. So theirs is like almost exactly twice the change. 99.96%. You just look at UMC's tax calculation, make sure we get that affected in there.
No, last year they stayed at the current, right? Last year they stayed at the current rate for UMC.
Last year,
The effective
they
was.
stayed at the current.
Last year, the effective rate was lowered because property values went up. So they stayed at the current, which still was an increase.
And then they switched a little bit of their capital.
Right,
Or
they
their
took-
INS went down a little bit, and they moved that over to the M&O.
Right.
It's just that I was thinking in fairness to them, look at what would have happened to us if we didn't have a 3.5 cap. You know, we would have needed to have gone higher than last year, just by the projects and everything that we have. You know what I'm saying? If we didn't have a cap, 3.5, the way we were looking at our budget and the way we were trying to catch up, we might have gone a lot higher than we've ever before. So I'm just trying to see the fairness of looking at them based on what our situation, or that we've held back on taxes, when I don't think we would have done that this year. I mean, it's obvious by our budget that we're gonna have to really cut back. So I just want to be fair in that comparison.
And Wally, on the rollback bit where it's 5.61,
Yes, sir.
and I know you're working on something else, but if it was to be at a 5.0, how much of a difference would that make for them? But finish your first calculation first.
Okay.
I don't wanna,
I'm
He's
just trying to
using one
find
side
out.
of his brain.
So I'm trying to find the UFC latest calculation, and then I'll tell you dollar wise what that would be.
FTEs going higher, more employees going to be taken out, 200.
Because of the financials.
And that's something that we have those, not being that's what I'm saying, capping market share.
So Wally, in some way, last year, we sort of agreed, maybe implicitly, but by the budget, that they would go in and get these clinics and these emergencies and
Yes, sir.
so we sort of provoked that. And so how do we expect not to help them with that commitment?
To not fund it.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's an agreement we made that it was a good move, but that includes more employees and all these other things to support that. Betsy, is someone waiting for us, or nobody's coming
At
up?
9 a.m.,
At 9?
shortly after 9, we have an outside agency coming in.
Okay, so just so we could
We have Crime Stoppers at 9:10.
so we could consider that as well.
Yes, so you all have about another 5-6 minutes before we need to recess and go into open today's meeting. You can always come back to this one as long as we just recess this meeting.
Okay.
And we'll need a few minutes in between for IT and for our recording team. So,
Because that'll keep us on track. 'Cause-
yes. That's why I'm saying if we wrap this up in about the next 5 to 6 minutes, it'll give us that chance and to be on time for the incoming.
Is it a good idea to invite Jacob for our Friday meeting?
You're meeting with him on Wednesday, but you could
Tomorrow.
also, yes, sir. You're meeting with him, and for example, and I do always communicate with Jacob, like, we're gonna need more details about your depreciation formula and why you use that formula. And, so I'm always telling him the things that we're gonna need to, and so is Wally, things that we know we need more explanation or, understanding.
Betsy, when we say Jacob, it's the same form we had last time, or?
We're
Jacob?
actually, for tomorrow's meeting, because there was so much public interest, we're actually moving it over to Commissioner's courtroom. So Celeste is working with facilities to set it up in the Commissioner's courtroom for tomorrow, so that there's plenty of room for attendees.
So the easier number to get faster was yours, Commissioner Leon, because I'm looking for the UMC file right now. To go to a 5% increase over the effective tax rate this budget would have to reduce by $694,000.
694.
Yes, sir. A 5%
5% over the M and O?
No, a rate to rate comparison. Because the INS, whichever rate you adopt, the INS has to remain the same. That's the amount required to make next year's debt payments.
So to make it a 5.0
To make
flat,
it 5% flat, this budget we need to reduce by $694,000.
But that's a reduction in their current INS.
No.
Well, if you look at their current.
Well, yes, but the
From the-
INS
from
next
the-
year,
okay.
yeah, needs to be the 0528.
And then, so on their presentation on page 49, where they have property tax scenarios, where it has that 5.61%,
Yes, sir.
it has the effective rate of 26,200,693. But see, in their budget book they provided us, they have the same number for 2020 as 19.9. And so I don't know how that changes the percentage of, but I was trying to,
Which tab you on?
on
Type one.
tab 1, page 16. And see, so I think at the at this 19.9 figure that they put in the book, that would be a 6.32.
You're
You see that?
19.9. Yeah,
So wait, which one are you looking at, Mr. Cards?
19.29, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, on the 20, right there, that's the difference, so that's the 20. On tab 1, page 16.
Right. So what they're showing is with the rollback rate, the M&O portion of the tax rate is the 21.49.21. So that 561 is just an overall rate to rate comparison as you look at comparing
Oh, because you're saying it's
the
yours.
M&O portion.
Right, but they start off with a different effective rate on the M&O. They have one figure on the PowerPoint presentation, they have another figure here in the budget.
So it's 21.4919 or 24.21? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, the
Maintenance and operation for 2020 budget on the tab 1 on page 16, it says 0.214919, and on that side it says 0.214921. I don't know, that's probably not gonna make that much of a difference.
so for tax year
Is that what you're talking about?
2018,
Yeah, it's a percentage difference, it's like, so I think that's why it was in the, where it says 5.61% in the presentation, I think it's actually like a 6.32% increase in the M&O.
right? But when but for their purpose, what they have to publish in the newspaper is the percentage change from the effective, the calculated effective, to the proposed rollback. That's the percentage change they have to publish. So as long as that center column up on that table right there, effective tax rate, is their calculated effective tax rate, and that's an accurate disclosure for calculation purposes.
But I guess I couldn't reconcile that, why the two different figures? You see what I'm talking about, where it
Yeah,
says,
I see what you're looking at in their presentation. I just don't know that they're that 19.900. I don't know where that number's coming in from. I'd have to see the actual tax calculation itself. Yeah.
Oh, they are? Yes,
I'll-
sir. Okay.
So what I'll do, Judge and Commissioners, is I'll look and get that actual tax calculation itself, just to see what those differences in this presentation versus the actual calculated tax rate are, and report that back.
and then we'll, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I saw a clip yesterday on the news where it started off saying that El Paso County will raise taxes again this year.
And-
Again. Did you see it?
No. Oh, we should have corrected that real quick.
Yes.
On what station?
I think it's CBS.
Oh, well, that was the only one that was here yesterday. Key Fox and CBS were here yesterday.
So, while Wally works on this information, are you all ready to recess this meeting and start our meeting so we can begin with the outside agencies?
I think so. We'll have to come back.
Oh, well,
County says it needs to raise your taxes again, the increase you see.
Again.
So we do need to correct that, right?
Yeah, we should-
We have not raised it
Yes,
for 4 years.
whichever news station put that out, that is not correct.
And to the contrary, we lowered taxes a number of years in a row, below the effective tax rate.
But that wasn't you guys.
Right.
Channel 7.
Wasn't you guys right?
It was CBS.
Oh, that's what I was going to add. You know, they have made a lot of comparisons, and I did ask Jacob this at the hearing, is that they do make a lot of mention of the percentage of tax revenue that other hospitals make, and I think you mentioned either the 32% figure or the 38% figure for other hospitals. I mean, to get us there, you know, later on, you know, what would the tax rate be? Have to be, you know, if
Oh, to get us to the comparable 38? Oh,
Right. Because ours would have to
If-
be significantly higher than those
Absolutely.
other entities, and that's the other thing, you know, because again, they have a significantly large tax. Bear County's tax base is 175 billion compared to our 45. You know, and unfortunately, that's why I think their county tax rate's like 30 cents versus our 45.
It would have to go up like probably close to 65, maybe 70% above what it is today to get to a 38%, to get to the same comparable 38% share. It's easily maybe a 65 or 70%. I can, during their presentation,
hospital
I can run that number. Oh yeah. If it were going to be a comparable percentage to the other hospital districts at 38%, yeah. Because if their rate right now at 26 cents is only at 21%, 50% increase would only bring it to the top 33%. And so you're looking at about 70 to 75% higher rate. And they'd have to go roll back for the next decade to even get close to that.
And I hate to even bring this up, but they're the only taxing entity that does not have, what do you call it? Senior homestead exemptions.
Yeah, they have 0 exemptions.
I mean, they don't even have regular basic homestead exemptions, or they don't have senior exemptions, and I think that's something that, you know, if it's gonna, you know, if it's going to continue upward, you know, that's gonna have to be something. And here at the county, we have like a $25,000 homestead exemption, I think, for seniors. I know we've talked about this before, but and a $5,000 regular homestead.
Regular homestead. I did find that line item on their calculation, Commissioner, on UMC on line 30 of their tax calculation. When you get down to the 2019 effective M&O rate, it does calculate out to 199,001. But then, as you multiply that rate times 1.08, it is the number you see on the screen, the 214921. So that if you were to take that number here, I found it on their tax calculation. That is the calculated M&O tax rate. So what you have to do is you have to get to what is the equivalent effective M&O rate for the year. That is 199,001. Then you ramp that up by 8%, and that's the number you see in the top right corner of this screen, the 2114. So the 561 again is just a comparable total effective compared to total rollback. So on their effective tax rate calculation, let's see real fast. Their total effective tax rate is that total there at 25, 35, 19. And when you back out the M&O requirement, the top number is as mathematically does. So the center number of 200693 is the total effective calculated rate less the debt rate. So that is your ending M&O rate. because you have to back out, the INX.
Right, okay, well, I'll have to talk with that.
I'll get with you on that. Do you have their tax
Because,
calculation, right?
yeah, because, well, on their tax rate worksheet, they used the they used the 199 figure. And that's where it's just, I don't get where the 200,693 comes from.
Right.
But anyway, those are all things we can talk.
So yeah, so that 199 takes into account all adjustments for the year. So that is their total taxable value. That takes into account taxes refunded during the year. You're allowed to recoup that in your subsequent year tax rate. And so that is a component of the calculation.
Okay.
But I'll be glad to walk you through it.
Good.
Recess this meeting?
Until what time?
Can we recess it for a short period of time? Because we don't know when we'll need to come back for it. Like, recess it until
Just
we know,
recess and then we'll come back in and then you open up your next meeting, right?
we don't have to recess to a certain specific time?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Commissioners Court will recess the meeting of Monday, August 12th at 9:10. Commissioners Court will reconvene
At a later time.
at a later time today.